Welcome back to another edition of Pod by the Bay. I'm Seth Varnadore, joined by Anthony Vito and Mr. Robert Steeg. Gentlemen, we're in a new year. Basketball is rolling. We're kind of at that point where we're about to hit a lot of sports being played at the same time, but we're still not quite there yet. A couple more have kind of started up and are starting up. But basketball is kind of the big one at the point. Men and women's basketball both on similar tracks somewhat. Obviously, women started off a lot hotter, but once conference plays hit, right, they're kind of on the same roller coaster at this point.
Fellas, is it still January?
It is.
By my count, yes.
My goodness, why is every January like 3 months combined into one?
Yeah. I think it's because football kind of like lingers for a little bit for like the playoffs and the college football playoffs and transfer portal stuff. And so you kind of like keep an eye on that. And then you're like, all of a sudden you blink and you're like, oh crap, like men's basketball is playing at 2 today. Because like with football, like you get the pile up to things, right? You get the press conferences on Mondays or Tuesdays, and then the lead into it, and you kind of go to expect things. There are days where I'll blink and be like, "Oh crap, we play today." Like, we have a
Sometimes that
game.
notification. You know what? And football is the longest it's been. They just had the national title game yesterday, so you had guys who are graduated and trying to get jobs, and they're still hanging out with kids who are in the new spring semester. It's just kind of wild how this is all working out. Portal still going around. Well, not anymore. But hey, January feels crazy. But just with that, we have a couple basketball teams who have had some ebbs and flows recently. But doubleheader win on Saturday, I'll take that.
Yeah, those are fun. Those are always good to win both your home games at the same time. Yeah, it's definitely been a hot and cold year for both men's and women's basketball. They both have big wins. They both have record-setting wins. Then they have just absolutely inexcusable losses kind of in the same breath at the same time. Both teams started out 2-0, looked fantastic, looked unbelievable at times, and then just dropped two what I would call clunkers in a row. One against a team that they probably should have beat, one against a team that was going to give them fits all game and ended up doing that. And then bounced back for a win at home on Saturday, or on this past Saturday. So the trajectory is weird for both of these teams. So men's basketball is sitting at 10-8 right now on the year, and 3-2 in conference. As I mentioned, started the year with a victory over East Carolina, a victory over Wichita State on the road, and then just got 3-balled to death against Tulane, and then dug themselves into an absolute pit against UAB and battled back, but felt like a lot like the tournament from the AAC tournament from last year, and then rounded out with a come from behind victory over Tulsa on Saturday. So Vito, it's weird because the whole aura around the team is weird. It's irregular.
Yeah, I mean that Tulane. So the men. We'll start with the men's. I know we're kind of all over the place a little bit as we kind of gather ourselves again. So they started out 2-0, which is the first time ever they said in conference, or at least in the American, which seemed odd. But they beat East Carolina, they beat Wichita State. I mean, they beat Wichita State handily. And then Tulane, they're up 37-34 at the half, and it seems like they're about to pull away. And then you're right, they just go cold. Tulane figures it out. You're on the road. It's tough. But then that UAB game, they're down 47-27 at the half. I mean, being able to claw back, and they scored 56 points in the second half after only scoring 27, and you're still down. But UAB, they have their number the past 2 years. It's just they have the size, they have the shooting, and they haven't been able to really get them. So it's really kind of nice to see that. I mean, Tulsa played like so I watched that whole game against Tulsa, and they didn't play well at all in that first half. But the USF wasn't hitting anything either. And then free throw wise, they couldn't hit anything. So Tulsa had a 5-point advantage, and it just looked like it was going to happen again. But USF came all the way back, which is good to see, especially with the whole situation and with Coach Fletcher seeing the players still want to play for them. And let's just say CJ Brown, Excellent. I really hope that dunk was on SportsCenter Top 10, and we should put that on a T-shirt. I'm sorry, we can't put that on a T-shirt. Forget I said that.
C and D are 2 letters. We'll hear quite a bit if we do that. Steeg, just looking through some of the numbers here. This team, just trying to look through why maybe there's been some inconsistency. And I'm looking here on our good friend Ken Pomeroy's site, and the fouls committed per 40 minutes for some of these USF players is quite astounding. Jamil Reynolds, 3.6. Okay. Brandon Stroud, 4.8. All right. Deontay Green, 6.2. Kason Jennings, 4.1. CJ Brown, 4.2. So it seems like, and the numbers kind of back this up beyond just kind of each guy's individual fouls per committed, that they are committing a lot of fouls and that teams are shooting really well at the free throw line. So it seems like they're fouling the wrong people as well. Because that's kind of, you go back and look, last year the defense was pretty good. But, now this year they're 210th in free throw attempts, field goal attempts, and 326 in free throw percentage allowed, which is not really like how do you allow free throws to be made or not? You can't defend them, but I could say that you're fouling good shooters a lot and fouling on the perimeter a lot. Is that does that pass the sniff test of watching this team, pass the eye test for you? Does that make sense to what you've seen?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the product of how these players are coached to play. They're very stringent on defense. They're very fluid on defense, which is how you want a team to kind of operate. We'll always kind of have to do comparisons to like the Brian Gregory era. Like Brian Gregory's era was basically like hero ball on offense, and then on defense it was like just leave it on the perimeter, low percentage shot kind of thing, which led to like teams just shooting otherworldly from 3 on us. Like USF is actually doing pretty well on turnover percentage, which is strange when you look at like the entire placard, because it like they're forcing a lot of turnovers. They're playing very well defensively, but they're still fouling a lot. Deontay Green, the underscored part of this entire thing is Deontay Green at 6.2 fouls committed per 40 minutes. And you don't really have anyone behind him because Corey Walker is suspended now. So, it's a product of these new guys learning a new system and everything like that. Because you look at kind of the holdovers, right? Your Jaden Reeds, Kason Jennings, Kobe Knox, they and Brandon Stroud too. They tend to foul less. Brandon Stroud is going to be the outlier because he plays very aggressive defensively, and you need him on the floor at times to lock down guards. But like they, for the most part, don't foul as often. It's the new guys that got brought in that are fouling a little bit more because they have to play a little bit more aggressive because they're the bigs. So yeah, that's the sniff right now. Is like USF can be pretty good from beyond 3. USF can find different ways to score, which is good, but USF defensively is not as good as they were last year. They're fouling more. They're not playing super great perimeter defense as we saw against Tulane and as we saw against Tulsa as well. And so you're kind of in like this weird in-between spot of like you really need something. You need something to click in order for them to take that next step. And it has to happen on the defensive side of the boards, which is harder.
Yeah, and you mentioned the boards. Jamil Reynolds seems to be a really good defensive rebounder. Ken Palm's got him as the 12th best in terms of defensive rebound rate in the country. That's really good. But when you go and look at like Bart Torvik is another guy that tracks a lot of things, and you look at offensive rebound rate, and I'm guessing the defensive side of that would be how many you give up. They're 230th in offensive rebounding and 232nd in offensive rebounding allowed. So it seems like you're giving people a lot of chances, and you're not a team that's forcing a lot of turnovers. So I think when it seems like if you're not making shots and you lose, that you're losing because you're giving the other team a lot more chances at it, and you can't hit the shots to kind of make up for it. Is that kind of how it's been?
Yeah, the Tulane game is the best example of that. Like I think they gave up like 10 plus offensive rebounds against Tulane, and Tulane hit 14 threes that game. Like that's otherworldly, but also you're giving up the board so that they can take second chances at the threes that they missed. So
they shot 30 threes in that game, which is the most anybody shot, I think, this season against, or Texas A&M Commerce shot 32 earlier this year, but 30 is the most somebody's shot in a loss for sure.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, I'm looking at it now. They had
Golly, UAB at a 55% offensive rebounding rate. Is that back? Holy Lord.
Yeah, that's Yaxel. That's
Yaxel. Yep.
That's Yaxel. That's what he does.
100.
There was one
cow.
USF kept trying to come back. When you're down 20, it's difficult. So they would get to like 8, and then it would be 10, 12 again. Get within 6, back to 10. There was a couple times where they would have 2, 3 offensive rebounds at a clip, and then hit a dagger 3, or come in with a dunk and just like stop a run. Yeah. So it's hard to, but like UAB and Yaxel especially has had their number the past 2 years. So it's at some point you just see that the matchup difference. One thing that's actually fascinating when I was looking at this was I assume their free throw percentage, because it always seemed like they were missing one when they needed one, or they're only getting 1 out of 2, or missing a second one. But their free throw percentage is actually better right now than it was last year, 74% to 73%. Obviously, a smaller sample size, but the main difference I'm noticing is this year their opponents are shooting 75%, and last year from the free throw line, and last year was 68%. And I feel like you don't really notice it until your opponent is shooting more and shooting more successfully than you, because when it comes down to those last second games when 2 or 3 points matters, that little bit does matter. So the fact that they're shooting at a better clip, and I just kind of looked at the individuals like, okay, well, guess who your top 3 free throw percentage shooters were last year? Chris Youngblood,
Selton Miguel,
Jason Breyer, Selton Miguel.
And so another kind of just on that. So this year the free throw rate is 33.9, which is good for 161st in the country. Last year, so even though the percentage is a little bit better, last year the free throw rate was 37.8, which was 55th in the country. So you're shooting slightly better this year, but last year you shot a lot more, it seems like, over the course of the season. So you're losing some points there. So it's just been like, that's what I wonder, is the free throw percentage against you, is it bad luck? Like, did you have really good luck last year, or is it more about you fouled bigs last year that didn't make as many free throws, whereas this year you're maybe fouling on the perimeter more, you're fouling guys that can shoot free throws? Like, what's the
I blame the refs.
Yeah,
there you go. I mean, you could just do that.
It's also like, this is the thing that I have to like bring myself back into sometimes, because we do that bell curve thing sometimes, right, on the show, where we'll be super analytical on something like that, and we'll pound these numbers into people's heads. We'll talk about shit all day and night. We'll talk about,
I've got some shot quality numbers here if you're ready to
go
into that.
We'll go into like EPA, offensive rebounding percentage, or whatever bullshit numbers that we can pull out of our ass. Sometimes guys just miss free throws.
It's a make or miss league.
Sometimes it just happens. Like, and truly, like, the turnover luck metric is like the one thing in football that I will just never care to understand. There needs to be like a free throw luck percentage where it's just like, oh, you left, 4 points on the board or whatever it is, and that's what resulted in whatever thing. So yeah, for that's it in a nutshell. Sometimes I think some of these things are just like some of the misses just feel like they're untimely, and so that's why they're noticeable. Or like the other team is hitting a few free throws to make a little bit of a comeback, or they're getting and ones to make it a 3-point game or something like that. So like, yeah, I mean, we could go to shot quality numbers though.
Well,
yeah,
I
so
mean, okay.
go ahead.
Oh no,
Vito.
just to wrap up free throws, and this is just because during the Brian Gregory years that was a thing that killed them more times
They
than
were
not.
like 50%.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gregory's final year, 65%. 2021-22, 60. Wow, 0.666. Whoops.
Been a sign.
2020-2021, 63%.
Which I think was the worst.
CBI was the 2019 year, right?
Yeah.
2018, 2019.
2018, 2019.
65%. So, I mean, 10 percentage points better than that. It's tough. And like you said, you miss or make one or two here or there, and that could always be the difference in a game or not. Not to say like different players are going to shoot differently, or that they shoot differently at the Ying Center because, or if it's coaching or if it's effort or what have you. But it is kind of interesting to see the difference between a couple seasons and what that means. But again, they were able to claw back. And for a team, and we just keep saying this, everything they've had to go through to want to come back after being down and then win the way that they did to kind of stop a losing streak is huge. And then they travel to North Carolina to play Charlotte tomorrow, which isn't very good.
A couple. No, they're pretty bad, right? Are they like the worst? Like there's some crazy stat,
6, but
there's some crazy stat about Charlotte basketball.
Yeah, both the Charlotte men's and women's basketball teams have yet to win a conference game this year.
There you go.
So who's gonna win tomorrow. We know it.
Still put that evil on me, Mr. Steeg.
Hammer that Charlotte money line.
So the shot quality is a fun metric to look at, just because it weights by who's getting shot. So like a 3-pointer by, your best 3-point shooter is like a 3-pointer by Jimmy Williams, who I'll talk about in a little bit, hint, is different than a 3-pointer by, let's see who's the worst on the team, Jamil Reynolds or Brandon Stroud. It's a different like the quality of getting Jamil Reynolds in open three versus Jimmy Williams in open three is like, obviously they're not created equal, right? So shot quality factors that into everything. KenPom USF is 171. I think in the net they're like 182. In shot quality they're 158. 145th on offense, 201st on defense. And the one thing that's interesting is rim and three rate, which you want as many of your shots at the rim or three, right? The math of basketball is that like get a shot right at the rim or shoot a three, because threes are worth more than two, unless it's almost a guarantee to go in, then take the layups, right? And also fouls come with all that. So they're 163rd there. But this was something that I just looked at while Vito was talking about kind of home and road splits. Are you aware of their 3-point percentage at home versus on the road?
I'm going to boldly assume that their 3-point percentage at home is atrocious.
30.2%, which is good for 302nd in the country.
Yeah.
Away or neutral, they shoot 37.4% from three, which is 42nd in the country.
Guys, it's the Yingling Center. We've been saying this for years.
Their effective field goal percentage in away games or neutral games, which they're 3-6, which is weird, is 55.4%. Their effective field goal percentage at home is 51.5, which is 213th in the country. So away or at neutral sites, they're like a really good offense, and at home, they're not. So that's
I mean, that makes sense because, even at the Tulsa, they shot 2 for 18 against Tulsa from beyond three. And you look at the other home games that they've had, Bethune-Cookman stinker. They shot lights out against Loyola Chicago and Utah State, but came up short. Stinker against Stetson. And then, battled against Florida, battled against Charleston, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Yeah, this all makes sense. This all tracks. I mean, the thing is, the in-conference stuff is gonna look really not normalized. Like I just looked at Ken Palm's like conference only stuff right now, and like the numbers look egregious just because of the Tulane barrage of 14 made threes out of 30. And then the Tulsa, you only made 2 out of your 18 threes, which were just, if you could just remove those outliers, it's pretty normalized at this point. But yeah,
They also shot 48% against UF and Jacksonville,
right?
Which, a game they were leading by 1 point and, scored more in that half than Tennessee scored all game.
Yeah. Here's my question for you, Steeg. So, and this is my final question on basketball. I don't know if Vito's going over. This is my final question / thought. Jimmy Williams. It feels like he's listed as a role player. 16 to 20% of possession used on Ken Palm. Major contributors, guys use 24 to 28% of possessions. Jaden Reed, Jamil Reynolds. Significant contributors, 20 to 24 possessions would be Brandon Stroud and Deontay Green. Jimmy Williams is shooting 47% from 3, which is 31st in the country. He's got an effective field goal percentage of 61.8, a true shooting percentage of 63.6. Why isn't he playing more? It looks like he gets 40% of the minutes, which puts him about on a little bit over Deontay Green, but 7th or 8th on the team in terms of minutes, and he seems like he might be your best shooter pretty easily. So is he that bad on defense, and can they not make up for it when they need a little spark?
That sounds about right. Yeah, Jimmy is an interesting prospect. And I say prospect because he's still pretty raw, mostly on the defensive side of the ball.
He also has he has the 15th, his steal percentage is 15th best in the country. I don't know if he's not so what can he do to play more?
He is an absolute glass cannon. And that is probably the best way to describe him. Like he can absolutely get you between 9 and 18 points a game coming off the bench playing less than 20 minutes, which is astounding because that's where differences can lie for USF and like being able to like really be effective in what they do. But I'm venturing this because I don't have the numbers in front of me. Almost every single time that I look on the Apple Sports app and look at what is going on in the USF games, his plus minus is always negative. That's and bad. he might have a really good steal percentage, but for whatever reason, like he kind of gets a little lazy defensively every once in a while. Like if the ball's not super active on him, he's not super active defensively. And that's like a hallmark of this Amir, team quality is you're active on offense. They pass the ball a shit ton. I'm cursing a lot. This might be an explicit rated podcast. You pass the ball a lot on offense, but on the other side, you have to be just as active on defense. And that's where Jimmy kind of struggles at times is Jimmy doesn't have, he will, he's going to get used to this. Like I have no doubt in my mind. So I hope this doesn't come off in a disparaging way. There are times where he kind of ball watches a lot, and that allows a guy to get under the hoop pretty quickly and to make an easy layup. It's those minor things that'll it'll drive a coach nuts because like you're locked in, right? You're locked in offensively. Jimmy Williams offensively is locked in. The second he makes his three, he just loses it for a second. He's like, okay, like just lock in on the guy that you have to guard for the next 30 seconds and then get back into it, Jimmy.
Yeah, I wish I could see his defensive rating because his offensive rating is just for conference play is 121, which is 21st in the conference, and he's 123.1 for the season, which is 197th. but yeah, I wish I could see what his defensive rating was to kind of compare like how bad it is because, yeah, he seems like he'd be really useful, but he's not. The most minutes he's played this year is 24 against East Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously a reason he's not playing more, I guess. But yeah, I would love to see more of him.
I would too. He's fun to watch. He definitely has like a little bit of like an it factor that you really like just want to see out of a guy coming off the bench. Him and Quincy out of McCoy are like kind of like two sides of the same coin, just kind of differently. Like Quincy will come in and just light it up offensively, and then just light it up defensively, but then just like lose the offensive side like completely. Like he will not make the extra pass to a wide open guy.
So his previous stop was Wallace State. Can you any of you guys tell me where that's located?
Probably
Ohio.
No.
Damn.
Kentucky.
No, closer. Kind of.
Indiana.
No, south.
I'm Googling it.
Further south. Hey, no.
I'm Googling it.
Humor me, Steeg. Humor me.
Tennessee.
Very
Alabama.
close. Yep.
Jesus Christ.
That was my third guess, too. I was like, where is Wallace State?
Where is this place?
Shout out Jimmy Williams. He holds the single game points record at 48 at Wallace State.
Yeah,
he can
shoot it.
He can shoot it. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to women's basketball. We mentioned the men's net rating was like 181 or 182. The women's, much higher. They're currently at 67. Previously 66, 12-8 on the season, 2-3 on the road, 0-3 in the neutral. Very good at home, 10-2.
Speaking of shooting it, when Sammy Puisis is able to shoot successfully from beyond the arc, the Bulls win.
Thank you, analytics, Vito.
When she does not, like the game against UAB, when I think she was like 1 for 8 or 1 for 9, well, they lose. So
unfortunately, we don't have a ladies' Ken Palm, but that's basic. Vito is the Ken Palm of women's basketball.
If I was USF women's basketball, I would simply make sure Sammy Puisis shot
all her. There you go. Steve, reach out to Jose.
Yeah,
let him know.
That's the hope, at least. Yeah, it's funny when we talk about USF basketball, both men's and women's, and like when we talk, because we had this moment where we were talking about Memphis. We were talking about Memphis men's basketball because they are very reliant on PJ Haggerty. Like they are live and die PJ Haggerty. He maintains like 40% of their possessions or something like that. And for a while there, USF was doing the exact same thing with Sammy Puisis. Like it was live or die by Sammy Puisis being able to score 24 or more points in a game. And that's bad. We don't want to do that. There was at one point, I remember like there was I don't remember which game it was, but it was like Sammy Puisis had 12 points and then the rest of the team had 2. And like, yes, it's really exciting when Sammy Puisis hits her threes, but someone else has to step up. And that's pretty much what happened against North Texas and against UAB is that no one else stepped up. And so you took a loss at North Texas, which is fine because North Texas is okay to above average at women's basketball. They're very good at home, whatever. You took a pretty inexplicable loss against UAB. And so you were kind of reeling, and then you were like, oh, let's play as a team. Let's do this with the power of friendship. And that was the FAU game.
4 players in double figures. Carla Brito with a double-double, 15 rebounds, 14 points. They shot 50% from three-point range, 44% from the floor. And, they just dominated from start to finish. What do I remember? Yeah. Outscored them in every quarter. And they needed that. That was a confidence builder. They absolutely needed. That UAB was a gut-wrench game, too, because like Sammy shot, I think she only scored 3 points. She didn't have a great game, but they were still very much in it, and they just could not. They held UAB to being scoreless the final 3 minutes or something like that, or close to it. And unfortunately, they were able to get the last shot off and hit a layup, won the game. And it was just, that was a gut wrench game at home.
Yep.
So to be able to flip the script and just annihilate FAU was really, really good. Yeah. Against UAB, this was almost just like comical. Like, how does this happen? 3 points, 1 for 17 field goals made, and that one was a 3-pointer.
Yep.
Just how.
but for her, you need that.
Yeah, well, you got to keep shooting, shoot, right?
Yeah.
You can't. We were on the Discord, and a lot of people were like, "I mean, you got to take her out of the game." I'm like, absolutely not.
They don't really have anyone
to do
else.
with that.
It's
just like you can't take your best shooter out of and that was a bad example of like eventually you kind of you have to work yourself through it, but it's like your best shooter still needs to be able to shoot, and she had open looks. It was just one of those, again, Yingling Center being Yingling Center. And I mean, that's just like a comically bad game. She had another one similar to that against Merrimack where she was 1 for 10. And same thing. Her one shot was a 3-pointer.
Yep.
Which is just very strange. It's just like every once in a while. But and it was Merrimack, so they beat them by 19 points.
Sammy Puises is shooting 44.4% from 3. And what do you think she's from the free throw line?
Well,
it's like 52%.
What?
No. 93.9%.
Okay, I was gonna say,
yeah,
she's 31 of 33.
I was going the opposite.
Now there are some others that a little bit closer to that 50% barrier. As a team, they're shooting 69.8% from the free throw line. That's probably not super helpful.
Interesting.
Victoria Blazic shooting 41.3% from 3 on 80 attempts. So, I think one thing you've kind of talked about a few times, Steeg, and this was somebody that had like a really good freshman year and then was kind of down last year, but it seems like she's starting to kind of turn it back around, is Carla Brito.
Especially recently. She's been back in form.
Because when she was, I remember watching a little bit of the tournament her freshman year, and she was tough. Like she was just a tough player. She could, she could defend. She could get in there and mix it up, shoot a little bit. And then last year was kind of a down year for her. So what's been kind of the big turnaround, or what's is it just sophomore slump type deal, or
it felt like a sophomore slump. It was there was a little bit of a time there where she was trying to get a little too cutesy with it. Not taking the best possible shot. Her layup percentage was like awful last year. And it was like she was going compared to her freshman year. Her freshman year, it was attack the boards, get the ball in the hoop, doesn't matter what you look like. It seemed like last year it was like she was trying to get like an extra style point or two out of it. And it caused her to struggle. And then she also struggled on the boards. She had an injury, I think, to her shoulder at some point during the offseason leading up to her sophomore year. And she was able to play through it, but obviously it affected her game pretty graciously. So she played in that FIBA U20 tournament this past summer and just rocked. And I think she finally got her confidence back as of recently. Like she struggled at the beginning of the year. I kind of noted, I was like, all right, if Carla Brito, like 20 games into this season, can't score and can't rebound, pull the plug. It's a lost cause at that point. But she's turned it on recently. She's been like their player of the game the last couple of games here. She is averaging 7.6 points per game, it looks like, but she's collecting 7.9 rebounds per game, which is phenomenal. She has 64 offensive boards right now, 94 defensive boards. She has 158. She's leading the team in rebounds right now, which is exactly what you want out of Carla Brito.
And it looks like she had an unbelievable game in their big win against FAU. 14 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists. Like it seems like since the Charlotte game, which was on the first of the year, she's kind of turned it up a little bit. 14 points, 12 points, 7 points, 21 points, 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's put up, 10 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 15 rebounds in the most recent game. So probably averaging a double-double the last 5 games. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, she's been fantastic. Getting vintage Carla Brito is going to help this team out greatly because you get the electric, threes from Sammy or Vicky, and those are all fine and dandy and everything like that. But you have to find that intermittent scoring that, just outside the key. You just need that little bit. But my gripe is with Carla Brito and Laura Putu, because for as aggressive as these women are, again, Carla Brito, 158 rebounds, Laura Putu, 141 rebounds. Both of them are shooting under 70% from the free throw line. Laura is at 57% and Carla is at 64%. And that might not seem like a lot until you realize that you lost to North Texas by, I think, 8 points when you had a furious mounted comeback. You lost to UAB by 1 point. So these free throws, these gimmies that this team just desperately needs, they need to start hitting them. Laura is 35 out of 61. Carla is 25 out of 39. So you're looking at damn near 50 points left. Like,
that's tough.
Free.
That's tough.
And in fairness, or just as a atta girl, Laura is shooting 63% from the field. So
yes,
that's actually surprising. Not surprising because she takes a lot of high percentage shots, but 63% is like otherworldly. That's really good.
Yeah, that's pretty good there.
She has been the absolute, like, I don't want to call her newcomer because she was on the team last year. She's been the most pleasant surprise this year is how efficient she has been on the floor. Good golly, if she could hit her free throws, this team would be absolutely like lethal. There is nothing statistically that they do bad.
Yeah, because at this point, it's like if you're a defender, you just foul, right? And then say, sorry, I didn't mean that's Ponderosa stuff, I think. I shouldn't be given a trade secret here. But it's like at some point, it's like, okay, well, I mean, obviously you can't foul out, but
a little hack
that's a big 63% from the field and 57% from free throw. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're better off just fouling her and let her shoot free throw.
Right.
She's been a nice, pleasant surprise. I mean, there's a lot of new names on this team that have come out swinging. You talked about Blazow. Interesting. So she's obviously a great 3-point shooter herself, shooting 41%, but she's shooting 43% from the field, which is a little bit higher than Sammy. So that's a really good 1-2 punch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems they need one more kind of, if they could get, one more going from the 3-point line, which it doesn't look like that's maybe on the team or playing this year at this point, but I haven't watched a ton, but just looking at the stats, I don't think that person may not be on the roster, but if you can get somebody else could get hot, from the 3-point line, then you'd have 3.
Oh my!
Really, because they have 2 really good shooters right now, and then then you put those 3 out and let the like the 63% field goal percentage, all by themselves down low, 1-on-1. If you can kind of spread it out with some more shooters.
Yeah,
I'm sure that, but looking at it, doesn't seem. It just seems like it's those 2 kind of spearheading all the 3-point shooting. There's not much outside of that. Carla Brito is like 3rd on the team, and she's only made 7 this year.
Yeah. What's fun is looking at it is you have Sammy and Vicky shooting 41%. The team is shooting 36 because of the rest of the team.
Nobody else is over 31%.
Romy Levy, 1 for 17.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to keep trying.
Put them up.
Also, it's like, okay, hey, I'm open. I'm going to try.
Yeah,
I haven't noticed too much on that end.
She never takes bad shots. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
She just isn't hitting them. That's the problem. Like if the the girl that they recruited to be the third girl to, light it up from 3, Amy Thompson, stepped away from the team. So that's the part that sucks, is that you had her.
Wait, do we know that? Oh,
it doesn't take much to realize she hasn't played since the new year.
Romy, by the way, Romy Levy shot 34.6% from 3 last year.
Yeah.
On 107 attempts. So I don't know if it seems like those attempts are way down.
Oh, you got Sam.
She's also not starting. She's also taking a very different role. She's coming off the bench now.
Yeah, she's since only 17 attempts for the year. She had 107 last year. She hasn't taken multiple threes in a game since TCU, which was November 30th. Since then, she hasn't she hasn't made a 3 since the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
So they said no more of that. You're not allowed to take 3s anymore. Apparently,
I disagree. You have your shot, take it, go for it.
Yeah, it's just for somebody that 36 on 100 threes, 34.6% is not terrible. It's like if you're over 33%, it's like a valuable shot. So it's interesting that she's such low volume.
That's
they're all low volume. Nobody's like letting it rip.
Yeah.
Besides, you've got 222 attempts from 2 players and 314 attempts total on the team. So everybody else is less than 100 combined.
Yep. Actually, funny enough, USF opponents are shooting more 3s than they are, which is fun. That used to be, they would rip 3s with like Elena Shinecki and like.
Well, they're shooting a very low percentage. So the defense must be playing pretty well there.
Yeah, defense has been that's the fun part. Is the defense has been fantastic. Like Mama Dembele again. Yeah. I'll preach this till I'm blue in the face. Mama Dembele will not show up a lot on the stat sheet, but if you go to a USF women's basketball game, she lights it up on the floor defensively, and she is fantastic at having great floor vision and getting assists out. Plays great defense. Does a bit of scoring here and there. What is she shooting? 33% from the field. So pretty good, averaging, where am I at here? 6 points a game. Yeah. That's good. That's good with me. That
98 assists.
Are we not, we're not the Ponderosa run? I can't say she's an upgrade over last year.
But just did.
Over a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah,
as well. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
These teams always, Jose's teams always, you have players who over the course of the year find the role and fit into it so nicely, and then you have games like the FAU game where everything clicks and this is what it looks like, and it's always beautiful. It's beautiful basketball to watch, and it's nice that was the back end of a doubleheader too, because it's really great for the students and all the fans watching to see that. But like when you watch one of Jose's teams click like this, it looks fun. It looks fantastic. But like he's able to find you
can say players. Guys. He calls them guys.
Yeah, he calls them guys too. He's able to find guys that come in and just buy into a role and figure it out. And I enjoy watching that from a basketball team with like a lot of passing, try to find the best shot available, stick to fundamentals. I mean, obviously free throws can be a little better, but outside of that, they look to be. It's good that after a couple losses, you don't just dive bomb again. You keep getting better. So both men's and women's were able to switch the tide, and let's see what they can do in their next upcoming games. Women play again on. Hold, please.
I just have the schedule up. I probably could.
They had a game against Tulane that got delayed.
That's right. They have a game against Tulane on Wednesday, but it's being postponed because just look up Tulane and what's going on there right now.
A frozen green wave.
Yeah, just look up Yulman Stadium. It is snowy. In fact, some places in Florida are snowy. It's raining right now. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, so they'll play Saturday at ECU. It looks like.
Okay, so they're also heading to the Carolinas. Hopefully it won't be too cold.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Oh my God, Mama Dembele has 50 steals.
Good God.
Good Lord, woman.
Yeah,
Oh my
That's
God.
impressive.
What's the most steals in a season for USF?
I don't know.
We're gonna do some live research on the pod.
Yeah, on the pod while we talk about track and field.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
Steeg, you're the one that needs to talk about track and field. Somebody else can do the research. I'll do the research.
Yeah, find out the steals record because I have a
Deal.
feeling she's gonna get close to it.
55 already. My goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy. So track and field competed at the Jimmy Cairns Invitational. So their track and field is split up into 2 seasons in the spring. It is indoor first, and usually a lot of the meets are up north, obviously, and then they transition to outdoor, and that's when they come down south to like Florida and everything like that. This one in particular was in Gainesville at the indoor center there. And boy, howdy, did track and field do the thing. They set 3 program records. They had multiple top 3 finishes. And then they rounded it out with 2 second place collegiate finishes in the 4x400s. Technically, they got 3rd in women's, but we'll discuss that in a second. So program record set, Markel Jones won the 60-meter hurdles with a 7.78. My favorite thing, USF track and field officially said shattered the USF men's 60-meter hurdles record. He beat it by 0.01 second. Shattered.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's in a 60-meter hurdle, 0.01 is a lot. Kobe Babin cleared 5.53 meters on pole vault. So go on.
Incredible. Kobe Babin, I mean, back in the day when we used to do these roundups, I remember Kobe Babin. Didn't he used to have a really epic mustache? Or am I misbelieving that? Okay.
He did, and he shaved it, and I'm mad at him. Kobe Babin, maybe it's Bay Area Examiner will sponsor your mustache.
Oh.
Aerodynamics. That's why he's able to... he was also AAC Men's Field Athlete of the Week. Not to step on what you're about to say. Sorry.
Great segue. AAC Men's Field Athlete of the Week, and he's also the number 2 pole vaulter in the nation right now. So he's started off absolutely hot. And then probably the most surprising thing so far, Jason Nwusu broke the men's shot put record at 17.73 meters. Beat the previous best by 7. That was at 7.02 meters. And then he also placed 3rd in the men's weight throw at 17.43 meters. If you looked at like the track and field stats from the weekend, there were a lot of like schools there. There was like Voorhees College and Flagler and stuff like that. When I checked, Jason's shot put at 17.73 was in first. The guy in second had a shot put of like 11 meters.
So God, like 6 meters short.
Yeah. Again, he was the only Division I athlete there. He should have won it. But great showing by him nonetheless.
And again, just Eric Jenkins' program. You just go through and you look at the feed. Pole vault, program record. 60-meter hurdle, program record. Shot put, program record. Just keep, it's like clockwork at this point.
Yep.
And a lot of these players are beating their own program records. So you just look at and one of these years, at the end of this year, we'll do a real big deep dive in. You just look at Eric Jenkins era players and see how many like top 3 finishes they have in the program in the record books, because my goodness, every year is a little better. And you still familiar names. Goodness Iridia finished first in the triple jump. Kendall Mosley, another familiar name. Shania Benjamin, first place in the long jump. Just keeping good players in at USF, and also just continuously putting this program in an upward trajectory. It's fun to watch, and that's again first meet of the year.
Yep. And then there weren't as many track events. There was there were long distance events. So there was they had a 1 mile, they had a 5,000 meter, they had a 3,000 meter. And so really there was no 100 meters. There was no 200s. and there was no 400s individual. There's only the 4x400 meter relay. And so that the 4x400 team for men's got second behind this conglomerate, I think is what I can call it. It's this thing called Empire Athletics. They are college aged track competitors. It's bullshit is what it is. It's basically guys who are already competing in like Olympic trials for like Jamaica and like USA and like Puerto Rico and everything like that. So they got second place with a time of 3 minutes, 9 seconds, 19 seconds. Great showing by them. Not an improvement from their things last year, but they were the other like heats for the other USF 4x400 teams just ended up doing fine. Again, there was not any warm-ups or anything like that led into it. And then the same thing that happened on the women's side of things, they also got second, but for whatever reason, they didn't count the Empire Athletics group on the women's side of things for college. I don't know what happened. They got second to Florida State, which was kind of weird. But they did fine. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Fantastic showing by them. Expect good things at a track and field this year for USF.
Wow. See, and this is like a sport where traditionally they'd have 1 or 2 athletes that would be pretty good any given year or a couple different events. But ever since Eric Jenkins came on as and now he's moved to director, they've been able to bring in talent and compete at the top of these events, and it's really good for this program, especially where they were historically.
All right, it's they don't track steals as a season record. They have blocks, but from what I've been able to find in my just looking around, Dion Smith had 106 steals in 2001, 2002. That's the leader in the clubhouse right now. If I'm reading this stat book correctly, it looks like it's been photocopied from a binder. So,
all right.
Yeah.
QSOL freshman team. Dion Smith is someone that I'm sure if we said, "Hey, Colin, do you know?" "Oh yeah, I know who that is." Probably, I would bet.
We got breaking news into the Pod by the Bay feed here, which I'll let Ponderosa know this now. I've been anxiously awaiting Hayden Kingston to be added to the online roster. Breaking news. There we go. So Hayden Kingston officially added to the online roster now as an assistant quarterbacks coach. Breaking news. Brett Keane is no longer listed on the USF coaching staff.
Oh no. Oh no.
And we also hashtag can you do controversy alert on the bottom here?
Does this work?
Speculation zone. Yeah, that works. We now have 2 assistant quarterbacks coaches.
Oh.
Hayden Kingston is one of them, and then Tim Green is the other.
Interesting. What does that mean?
Controversy alert.
Oh, yep. Hold on, you gotta do that and then do. Oh,
I was trying to see if I can make it. I was just making it kind of flash.
Oh, there you go. That's fun. I like that.
Just do that.
Oh, I figured it out.
Oh, do we have new numbers?
Breaking news. Brett Keane is now the quarterbacks coach at Howard.
Oh, interesting. With come on, who's the head coach of Howard?
Scott, right?
Future USF head coach Larry Scott.
Sure.
Interesting.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, breaking news.
All right.
I like that. Hey, you know what? It's really nice to come back together again, the 3 of us, talk about 54 minutes of basketball track and field, and then end it with some breaking news.
Look at us.
Dude, an hour of basketball. Look at that. All right.
All right. Well, we've been away for a little bit, so we went a little long here, but we'll be back later this week with something for the Ponderosa, if you're interested in that or interested in joining the Ponderosa section of the Discord. You can join on patreon.com. What do we / the Bay Area Examiner?
That's correct. And don't forget, if you join the Ponderosa on Patreon and you don't know what Discord is, always feel free to email or ask us. I've had a couple different people go, what's this message board Discord you guys talk about? And didn't realize that people are paying for a feature they're not getting. And then they join the Discord and they go, oh, wow, this is cool. So just saying, if you don't know what we're talking about, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, so we use that as our message board, just like many other sites have message boards. Also, the functionality we get that those don't have is, Steeg will host kind of impromptu Q&As. Sometimes we'll do live shows in there or live Q&As in there. We've also kind of put links to come join us as we record a pod and ask questions and things like that. So a lot of value in the Discord, and that's the $5 tier. That's the smallest tier. Most our people are in the $10 tier, and that gets you that and an extra podcast every week, which is the Ponderosa, which we'll be recording later on this week. So if that interests you at all, hit up patreon.com / the Bay Area Examiner. Join us there. Join the Discord. It's a lot of fun. Good community. And going into the new year, we're still going to the new year, right? We can still say that. Or Larry David says you only get like 3 days, right? So we're way past it. But
it's still January. It feels like it's been 2 months of January.
So, so as we move further into 2025, we'll have coverage for baseball as it comes up, softball. Vanessa will be on the ground, kind of at everything, providing constant coverage. We've got people talking Tampa Bay Lightning now. We've got stickers. We've got hats. We've got it all. So join us on Patreon. Join the Discord. We're going to be a one-stop shop for Bay Area sports here, hopefully soon. So thank you guys for listening. Join us. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.